Television is not the truth. Television is a goddamn amusement park. Television is a circus, a carnival, a traveling troupe of acrobats, storytellers, dancers, singers, jugglers, sideshow freaks, lion tamers, and football players. We're in the boredom-killing business. So turn off your television sets. Turn them off now. Turn them off right now. Turn them off and leave them off. Turn them off right in the middle of the sentence I'm speaking to you now. Turn them off.
Stop them. An idea whose time has come cannot be stopped by any army.
Welcome to TLBTV, and I'm your host, Roger Landry, the founder and the managing director of the Liberty Beacon Project. And today on Eradicating Programmed Ignorance, we have another introduction for you. And as you know, we do these introductions because we have these motivated, these highly intelligent, these phenomenal individuals who have skills, who have thoughts, who delve into things because they're awake, because they see more than most people out there. And of course, the name of the show is Eradicating Programmed Ignorance. So we bring them on board to help us do just that, to help us drag people kicking and screaming into the light of day, so that they can wake up tomorrow morning knowing a little bit more than they did yesterday. And that's not always a pleasant thing, but it's always something that will help protect both you and your family and the country you live in and humanity in general. Gentlemen, I'm speaking of today, and you can see him probably right below Rebecca and I, wearing the Spyverse spy hat, is a good friend of mine, a very intelligent individual, and somebody who writes with a passion, but delivers a message using satire and humor that always leaves, I don't know, a serious impression on you. He's done several phenomenal poems for the Liberty Beacon Project so far, and I'll let him talk a little bit about these. And he's also done a phenomenal YouTube video about a spoof on The Sound of Music with Hillary Clinton. And he's written some phenomenal articles for us. So we thought it was time we let you know who Tony Olson is. He's a good friend. He's a valuable asset to the Liberty Beacon Project. And he's a valuable asset to humanity. And of course, as usual, I always have my just so phenomenal co-host, Rebecca Mahan, with me. Not only is she beautiful, but she's intelligent. And she's going to tell you a little bit more about Tony before we bring him in.
Well, Roger, I've got to say, I think that you have shared quite a bit so far. One thing that you didn't mention, though, is he is an American journalist and the best-selling author of a book called Spin Game. It's exposing political lies and tactics, and it was an Amazon top 10 bestseller. In addition to that, he has a number of other great articles, and he's authored something called "'Twas the Night Before Inauguration," and a number of other things, which I think our viewers really need to go to the site and take a peek at.
Well, whenever they go to one of Tony's articles, and with this show, there's going to be an article. It will be embedded in an article. That article will have the video of the spoof of Hillary from The Sound of Music. It will have his poetry. It will have his articles, direct link straight to them. Do yourself a huge favor, whoever's watching this, please go. If you want a laugh while you're learning, you're going to get both. And I got to tell you something, Tony, you and I have had this discussion before. We've discussed this exact point. I'm a firm believer that you remember most what makes you laugh the hardest, not what makes you the angriest, but what makes you laugh the hardest. And all we have to do is look back at people like George Carlin and other great comedians who had a political tinge to them, and understand that we remember their routines almost word for word 20, 30 years later because they made us laugh. They touched that spot in our brain that reinforces that learning, and that is laughter. And you do that oh so well. How are you today, Tony.
Good. Thank you, Roger. And Rebecca, thanks for having me on. I agree. I think that if you go through any relationship or you remember any relationship down the road, as time goes on, you don't remember the negatives, you remember the positives. And so if I can put a positive spin, if I can put a humorous spin on some of this, if that's the vehicle I have to use to get the message across, then it seems to be working pretty well.
Not only is it working pretty well, but I usually have to wear depends when I read what you write or watch one of your videos because I don't know if I'm going to get to the bathroom in time. Yeah, it is. All right, so why don't you start off by explaining to everybody, how did you get to the point where you decided to use humor, to use satire as a mechanism for learning? And although you may not be, and I apologize to everybody, very, very tough throat by tomorrow, as Rebecca will tell you, I won't be able to talk at all. I'm right at the beginning of this. So we're lucky we're doing this show tonight. But explain to everybody why you decided to use humor or satire as that mechanism for getting word across. Neither you nor Rebecca are as, I don't know, people don't feel that their tinfoil hat is quite as thick when they're listening to you or to Rebecca as they do when they're listening to me. But just because you speak a little softer doesn't mean your message isn't just as loud, especially, and again, and I fall back on this, you're using that very powerful mechanism of satire or humor. How did you get here? How did you decide to do this? Did somebody just tell you one day, damn, you're funny, Tony? What's up?
I kind of have to give a lot of credit to my wife, actually. As you know, I've written a lot of serious stuff over the last few years, and not really anything with any humor per se. But my wife and I were talking right before Christmas, and you know, I was in the middle of a lot of very serious articles, and my wife said, "You know what?" She goes, "People love it when you write funny stuff. Why don't you write something funny for Christmas for somebody?" And in the midst of all this turmoil and everything, let's have some humor out there. And I said, okay, well, I'll write a Christmas poem for, you know, some friends of mine. And that's when the poem actually was called A Very Trump Christmas. And it actually turned into twas the night before inauguration. Somebody took it and changed the word Christmas to inauguration and put it back out there. And I had a call from a friend of mine in Oregon about 2 days before the inauguration. And she said, "Do you realize that your poem's all over the internet?" And I said, my Christmas poem? And she said, yeah. She said, somebody changed the word from Christmas to inauguration. And she said, it's literally all over the internet. There's 8 videos of it. There's animated videos. There's everything.
That's how I met you, because I got a little message saying, hey, I don't mind you using my poem, but how about giving credit to the right person? And this is what the actual name is supposed to be. And I said, because I was told it was an anonymous source, and I kept telling where I got it from, I would really like to meet the guy who wrote this. And then bam, you drop right into my lap. You tell me you wrote it, and I'm sitting there going, oh yeah. Okay, we got to talk to Tony. And that's how you and I started talking. And now you are an absolutely phenomenal part of the Liberty Beacon family. And we couldn't be prouder to have someone like you.
Thank you. No, it's been kind of a fun ride. And to be real honest with you, I have a lot more fun writing the funny stuff than I do the serious stuff. It's a little bit easier on my constitution.
Well, I can understand that, because you sit there and write the funny stuff, and when you're done, you feel good, and you feel like, oh, you get up, give the wife a big hug, maybe pat her on the behind when nobody's looking. And I sit down and I write from a point of, are you freaking kidding me? And I rip people a new orifice from which they can defecate from. Okay? And I give it to them plain. I give it to them blatantly. I give it to them straight. And when I get up, I just want to find a brick wall to smash my head into. So yes, I can see what you probably enjoy writing more than I do. You probably don't get more satisfaction than I do, but I'll bet you enjoy it more than I do.
I don't know. I get a lot of satisfaction poking fun at people that have earned their place in my poems. So.
Oh, you mean those who have shown their stark stupidity? Rebecca, you look like you're just dying to say something, and you know I have diarrhea of the mouth, so you need to jump in, girl.
I love that we're taking things that are happening in the world and putting a twist on it, because everything is so serious all the time, but there's humor in that, and it makes the things that seem a little bit more difficult to digest a little bit easier. And I know in many people's lines of work where they are exposed to things that are very, very traumatic, that they use humor to overcome that. So the facts are still the facts, but it just makes it a whole lot easier to digest.
Tony, did you know that Rebecca is a retired police officer and has a certification for, what is it, conflict management? Yeah, so when she's talking to you about these things, she's speaking from somebody who, bing, knows exactly what she's talking about. And she loves what you write. Gee, go figure.
I know.
It's been a lot of fun, and like I say, it's a lot easier to write the humor. But people don't realize I spend as much time researching my poems as I do researching my articles. Because even though it's a poem, even though it's humor, I still want to be accurate. I still want to get the right message there, and even if it means that I'm pointing out something that somebody, some particular person may have done that was a little bit off the wall, I want to be accurate about what I'm quoting and what I'm researching there. So it doesn't shorten the research time. It's just a little different spin on that research once I find it.
I'll tell you what we're going to see from you in the future. This is going to be a slow progression, but I've seen it from other people who have been with the Liberty Beacon for 4 or 5 years, doing media, doing podcast shows with us, and eventually television shows with us. And that is, right now, you explained an angry individual who might have screwed up in such a respectful fashion, it's insane. I would say the dumbass who just screwed up, but that's not you, okay? Give you 1 year and watch the morphing happen. Will it still be as funny? I'll bet it'll be even funnier, because we all develop as we continue, as we put out our information, we develop, we become better. But I think some of that primrose properness is going to be shaved off, Tony. Yeah.
I'd like to know also, Tony, what you have, in the foreseeable future here in the things that you're doing in addition to what you're currently doing now.
The projects I'm working on?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I've got a couple of funny things I'm working on. One is a song called The Ballad of Kim Jong-un. And so that one should be pretty good when we do that. I'm also working on a poem called My Day as a Liberal. And so that one I'm sure is going to widen the divide a little bit further. Uh-huh. And then I'm also have 2 serious projects that I'm working on.
Are you kidding me? Those are 2 of the hottest topics out there. Just do me a favor, don't do them next month, because the relevance might start to peel away by then. Oh man, I'm dying to see these. Go ahead. You were saying something else?
Well, yeah, I actually have a couple of serious things that I'm trying to get done. One is a poem about our military members and our veterans, and then I'm writing a song. We actually have most of the music done right now, but it's a serious song along the lines of like maybe a Toby Keith type song that's about veterans.
Why doesn't that surprise me? Go ahead, Rebecca.
Are you yourself a veteran, or do you have a family member that's a veteran?
No, I'm the only one that's not. My wife was in the Navy. My son is in the Army right now. My daughter is in the Navy, and my son-in-law is in the Navy.
I see. Well, that's fantastic. And I think that any type of tribute or anything that we can do to honor our military is of extreme importance and value. So I am really pleased to hear that that's what you're doing.
Yeah, I'm anxious for it. When I do write a serious piece, it's usually a tearjerker. So,
we have got some serious stuff from you on the Liberty Beacon, but I'm so happy to hear that most of your family has decided to pursue the Navy. Being an ex-nuclear submariner, and I in the U.S. Navy, well, we were the best. Nobody does it deeper than submariners. But anyway, listen, for everybody watching this, okay, I need your help. All right, you will read his poems, you will love them. You will watch his videos, you will love them. You will listen to the music that he creates, not so much the music, but the lyrics for the music. You will love it. We are in the process of trying to itch him along to get a TLB TV show up and running, because I don't think we could probably find too many people that could do it better and more entertaining. So everybody out there who thinks that's a good idea, comment on this article that this video is attached to. And if we get enough people, maybe we could use it as a bully pulpit to push him along. Because we really, really want to see this. No pressure, Tony. No pressure. All right, Rebecca. I don't know how much more time we've got, but any place else you'd like to carry this? Because you are, in fact, this is Eradicating Programmed Ignorance, but you are the media director. So Tony is, he's your man. So anything else you would like him to bring to the audience here?
Yes. How did you become involved as a journalist, and where do you think that has really made an impression in your life?
Well, I was always interested in writing, but it's one of those things where life kind of gets in the way, and you write maybe a little article here or there, and you really never do anything with it. And then 10 years ago, I had brain surgery, and it's kind of one of those things where, when you survive something like that, your priorities change. And you get to a point where you don't want to look back when you're 80 years old and go, I should have done that, or I should have done this. And so I saw a problem with the country. And so I thought, this is my opportunity to maybe help people learn about subjects that they're not getting accurate information on, and giving conservative people some ammo if they get into debates over these particular subjects like climate change, racism, immigration, gun control, that kind of. I wanted to give them the facts that they could work with, because I've always been a firm believer that if we were all given the same information and it was accurate, 80% of us are going to arrive at the same conclusion. There's 20% that'll never change no matter what we tell them.
Yes, that's the Pareto principle for you.
But
wait a minute. Don't beat the liberals up too hard here, okay? For 20%, they sure scream awful loud, don't they?
They do. But it's the 80% of us that get this right that are going to be able to change the world. And so the job now is to get 80% of the people on the same page. And I'm trying to do my little part to get us there.
Now, with all everybody knows about the Liberty Beacon Project, doesn't this sound awful damn familiar and awful symbiotic here, Rebecca?
I absolutely think this is fabulous. The work that you're doing, Tony, to educate people on things that they are really sometimes afraid to look at, or because they believe that on some level that it doesn't apply to them, but everything trickles downhill. So the things that are happening on the big scale do affect your local community.
Oh, absolutely. And I notice it even here. I mean, I'm in the reddest possible place in the planet, I think. And at the same time, we have the media here is still very liberal. And so it's still hard to get an accurate message across, even here. And so I'm still trying to do my part. And fortunately, we have a lot of people who are very active in trying to get the message across. And so, I'll just keep doing what I can do. And if I help change 100 people or 1,000 people or whoever, then so be it. And there's a lot in my book that is never going to change. I mean, some of it was somewhat time sensitive, but at the same problem, it's based on principles and history and an understanding of these issues that's never going to change. It'll still be the same 10 years from now or 20 years from now that it is today.
Understandably so, yes. Go ahead, Roger.
Real quick, what I find this to be so true, and the thing of it is, it doesn't matter how liberal we feel a community is. I used to live in the most liberal part of this nation. I've lived in California. I've lived in Rhode Island. I've lived in Connecticut. And right now we have a very big following in New Jersey, Connecticut, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, and California. Wait a minute. We are an extremely conservative, well, I don't know if we're either conservative, really conservative. We're more independent, but we do have conservative leanings. But to have the type of followings we do in what are the bluest areas in the country, again, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Connecticut, Northern New Jersey, California, it tells you that even amongst those who have nothing but space between their ears, you find the occasional human being who says, something ain't right here. Have I got that right, Rebecca?
Yes, I think that there's a definite different type of issue that's happening now, and people are starting to realize that there is more going on behind the scenes than ever before, and people do want to understand what's going on, but it is something that is very, very time consuming to find out. And with the society we live in right now, it's where we need to have things bullet pointed in a very short period of time. You know, the 2 to 5 minute span on the evening news, or what's coming across on Facebook, or, you know, any other type of social media or internet, because there's just not enough time with everything that we have. And so I would say, Tony, just to do one article or a poem, I mean, the amount of research that you're investing as far as time, what would you say is about, you know, kind of an average length of time for a research on an article or poem?
I generally spend 2 to 3 weeks on a research. My book, I actually spent 1.5 years researching the book before I put the book out. So,
yeah. And for those who are in the communities and they want to know something on a number of different issues that are going on in the world, they don't have that amount of time to invest. So it's very important that we have journalists such as yourself that are doing the research and getting that information out there, because that's what's going to change America. And we're also finding, if you remember, you know, the way history works, it was almost like there was a reversal in conservatism and liberalism, and it's almost like things are beginning to shift again. We're finding people who are becoming more educated about different things, and they're starting to look into the different parties and make a different assessment, because they're finding it wasn't the party they originally thought it was.
And that's true. And I'm sorry, Roger.
Real quick, because I want your opinion on that, but I see this, and I see this as being a major issue. The millennials and the Generation X were the most liberal generations this country has seen in a very, very long time. We saw 40 or 50 years of the advancement of liberalism in this country, and this is what we're seeing in the streets. This is what we're seeing with the major issues with Soros, with Obama, so on and so forth. This is the liberalism that has reigned for 2 to 2.5 generations. But if you look today at what we always term the up-and-coming generation, those that are 12 to 17 years old, you will find that for the first time in a half a century, they are the most conservative generation this country has seen. Why? Because they're looking at their parents and their aunts and their uncles and their big sisters, and they're going, these freaking people are nuts. They're all freaking crazy. And you know what? They're right. So please continue, Tony.
But I don't mean to jump in here real quick, but I do want to say this. I don't think that people should be sort of I'm not sure what I really want to use here because I have a few very strong words, but people make
Use 'em.
choices based on things that they know or what they're told from other people. They don't necessarily always have the amount of information and education that they need to make an appropriate, healthy choice in the direction that they need to go. And so I think that with journalists such as yourself, Tony, who are doing that, it's allowing people to make a better educated decision in the way that they want to go. And we are finding that this new and upcoming generation is seeing some things because of transparency issues now, and they are actually taking time to learn about what they need to in political aspects, in governmental aspects, and how it's affecting them in a large way, which is most obvious, and in the small way. And we are finding that they are starting to really look towards the conservative side of things.
That's their protest. That's their rebellion against the generation that they're lashing out against. All right, Tony, you're sitting there with this big Cheshire grin on, so obviously you got something to say. Take a couple minutes to wrap up because this will be, we're going to be closing the show down. It's basically an introduction show. So tell us what you think about what you just heard Rebecca and I say, because I already know what you're going to say. I've had some phenomenal conversations with you, but our audience hasn't.
Well, Rebecca's absolutely true. I mean, people right now want instant gratification. And whether it's from an informational standpoint or, an entertainment standpoint, they want instant gratification. And unfortunately, you can't have instant gratification when you're dealing with the seriousness of the issues that we're dealing with right now. So I have tried to simplify it as best I can. In the book especially, I wrote the book in a conversational style so that, and I write everything in a very conversational style so that people aren't burdened by, trying to use, every word in my vocabulary so that they can understand it. I want people to get it immediately and be able to articulate it to somebody else and say, you know what, this makes sense. Because I was a liberal. I was a big time liberal 20 years ago, 25 years ago. But things weren't making sense. I'm also very analytical. So I reached a point in time, I came from a small town, and you trust people and you trust your media and you trust everything. And it took me a while to figure out that maybe you shouldn't be trusting everything that you're hearing. Maybe you should be a leader and do your own homework and get this information on your own, because when you do, and I'm not saying listen to me, listen to Roger, listen to Rebecca, I'm saying people need to be leaders. They need to go out and do their own homework so that they understand when they get this information that it is factual. And that's the only way. With everybody's agenda now, people don't feel like they can trust anybody's agenda, whether it's from the right or from the left. And so that's fine. Do your own homework. And if I can make it a little bit easier, I will. And certainly I won't hold back on humor when I'm doing it.
No, and we very, very much appreciate that. I'll push back just slightly against something you said, okay? And it's not because you're wrong, but I'll modify it a little bit. When you said, I'm not telling you to listen to me, I'm not telling you to listen to Rebecca, I'm not telling you to listen to Roger. I'm telling you to listen to me. I'm telling you to listen to Rebecca, and I'm telling you to listen to Tony. Because we are the germination. We are what will provide the catalyst, okay, that you can build upon. A seed doesn't grow unless it germinates, okay? A fire doesn't burn unless it has a catalyst to get to that state, all right? We are those who will give you the information you need to formulate an educated opinion. Because there are a lot of opinions out there, and they're all like assholes. Everybody's got one, and they all stink. Dead serious, okay? You want an opinion that doesn't stink? Then go someplace, as Tony so adequately and eloquently put it, that you know you can trust. Because whether it's popular, whether it makes us look better or not, we're always going to tell you the truth. We don't challenge you to prove us wrong. We frickin' dare you to prove us wrong. And when you can't prove us wrong. We have established a reputation whereby you say, you know what, they're obnoxious, but damn it, they've always got the truth. So when you want an answer, where are you going to go? You're going to go to the Liberty Beacon. You're going to look up Tony's article. You're going to look up Rebecca's article. You may even look up one of the over 1,000 articles I've written. Who knows how desperate you can be? But the point is, yes, we will germinate. We will provide the catalyst. We will nudge you in a direction, not left, not right, not conservative, not liberal, not even anarchist. We'll nudge you in the direction of truth. And what is your closing statement, Rebecca?
I want to thank you so much, Tony, for the amount of work that you do to allow our Americans and those abroad to learn about and become educated on issues that are of the utmost importance in our world today. And I know that it takes a lot. I know that it is a lot to do the research, also even for poetry. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you folks for having me on, and I would like to thank you both for your respective services to our country. So, you know, hopefully we'll be seeing a lot more of each other and educating a lot of people together, and we'll see if we can't work on a TV show, Roger.
It's not a hopefully, it's a fact.
I think, Tony, it would be really a very important thing for you to not only educate those who are watching, but to continue in all of the amount of time and research that you've so much have invested, and it will only allow your message to continue to be moved across the globe and allow people's lives
quicker
to transform. So,
and I'm going to tell you something which I know Rebecca will back up, and without any hesitation, and it's not something I say very often, but I always tell the truth. You are very distinguished looking, which doesn't hurt a bit. Okay?
So I encourage this very much so. And I know, again, that we're running out of time, but Tony, thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
All right, for everybody watching, this has been another episode of Eradicating Programmed Ignorance, brought to you by the Liberty Beacon Project on TLBTV with my phenomenal co-host, Rebecca Mahan, and my friend and a great friend for the Liberty Beacon Project, Tony Olson. We wish you all a very pleasant evening. Adieu.